This episode contains content that may cause discomfort or trigger certain individuals. Murder in My Bedroom encourages listener discretion, especially for those who are sensitive to graphic cases involving children. Grizelda Hernandez, a single mother, met Anthony Burgos, her ex-lover, for a faithful meeting with their son, Dominic, at a park. What followed was a violent struggle leading to a double murder that shocked the community for years. In today's episode, we'll be spending another week in Texas as we uncover the heart-wrenching details in this case of tragedy and betrayal. Hey guys, I'm Jordan and thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Murder in My Bedroom. If you are new, welcome. It would mean a lot if you subscribed. Last week, we discussed the mind-boggling case of Rudy Ferreras, and if you would like to, be sure to check it out. This trial was live streamed on the Law and Crime Trials YouTube channel. All supported sources linked below, including the link to the playlist with all of this case's content provided on their channel. We have so much to cover today, so let's jump right on in. Grizelda Hernandez was a single mother raising two children, Jaden and Dominic, in Laredo, Texas. She was 27 years old at the time of her death, while Dominic was 1 year and 7 months old. Grizelda was pursuing her nursing career and was studying full-time at TAMU in her second year. But let's take it back to where this chilling story all began. Come on, truck, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Travel across this damn highway. Grizelda met a man named Ronald Anthony Burgos in 2015. They had a secret relationship described as friends with benefits, where they would see each other for casual encounters. Grizelda told her best friend and sister not much but little about Anthony, so the people closest to her weren't completely in the dark about him. However, Grizelda became pregnant, and on July 26, 2016, she gave birth to a baby named Dominic Alexander. She took full responsibility for raising Dominic, while Anthony never took responsibility for the child. Grizelda, who aspired to become a nurse like her older sister, financially supported Dominic through various means, including student loans and her own family's help. She applied for assistance with childcare and was informed that opening a child support case was a requirement for 4D services for child support. She initiated the legal process, but Anthony responded with deflection, humor, and guilt trips whenever she brought up the topic. In December 2017, she started preparing to involve the Texas Attorney General's office in the child support case. By January 2018, she expressed her intentions to seek child support to Anthony. This increased their Facebook communications, often with Anthony deflecting the issue. In one of those communications, Anthony tells Grizelda, "In a few weeks, I don't think you are going to want to be my friend." Around March 21st, 2018, the legal proceedings had already begun, and Anthony requested to meet Dominic for the first time. March 24th, 2018, Anthony, "I want to see you guys tomorrow." Grizelda agreed, hoping to trust him and establish a connection between Anthony and his son. On March 25th, 2018, the day of the meeting, Grizelda borrowed her older sister Angelica's car and took Dominic with her to Winfield Park. Cell phone communication records presented at the trial aligns with this information. Grizelda calls Angie. Angie doesn't answer. Angie is Angelica's nickname. Angie replies, "I'm sleeping. LOL. What's up?" Grizelda, "I was gonna ask you for a huge favor. Dom's dad wants to meet him, so I wanted to borrow your car so I won't be having trouble with the truck in like an hour or less." Angie replies, "Oh, okay. Why and where are you meeting?" Grizelda, "So can I borrow it?" Angie replied, "Is it in a public place?" "Yes." Grizelda replies, "At a park by Winfield. Public place so he can play." I'm freaking out. LOL. "I'm going to shower real quick. Text you once I'm out." Angie, "I don't think it's a good idea, but yes, you can borrow it." Angie continues, "Like, why does he want to meet him now, after so long? And he's going to try to convince you of doing otherwise." Grizelda replies, "He can't convince me. I need that money for Dominic. He already accepted he was going to pay for child support, and now he was like, okay, fine. I want to see him. He's my son, and I want to see him. So I don't know if he feels guilty or like, well, it's all there, so might as well, or what. I'll tell you the whole story later. This was just a part of it." She continues, "He's not getting off of child support." Grizelda and Dominic meet with Anthony at the park, but it was cut short due to Dom crying constantly and seeming unsettled after she gave him to Anthony. Grizelda brought Dominic to her sister Angelica's home later that day, who was a registered nurse. Angelica noticed that Dominic had a small pinpoint wound on his thigh, which appeared to be bleeding and had dark blackish blood. She checked Dominic for other injuries and tried to calm Grizelda down, who was distraught and panicking. Angelica suspected that Dominic may have been bitten by an insect at the park. Before I continue, I just want to say that Angie showed so much bravery on that stand. I can't even imagine the emotions she's going through, and to provide such clear accounts, I just had to give props to her. During her testimony, Angelica described how Grizelda left Dominic briefly with his father at the park while she went to the car to grab some snacks for Dom. Grizelda saw Dominic's father was holding him on a bench and overheard him having a conversation about being present in Dominic's life. Grizelda took a while to reach them because of this, and when she did, Dominic was unsettled. Grizelda decided to cut the visit short as Dominic continued crying and appeared very uneasy. Angelica testified in court about her observations and actions during this time. During her testimony, Angelica described how she told Grizelda they needed to take Dominic to the ER immediately after noticing the wound and dark blood. She took photographs of the wound before leaving for the hospital. Text messages were presented as evidence showing communications between Angelica and Grizelda. They discussed the possibility of necrosis and the belief that Dominic may have been bitten by a poisonous insect. Grizelda to Angie on March 26th, the next day. Hey, Dom's dad is asking if he can get necrosis. He's all worried. Angie, yes. Angie continues, yes he can. He and we should all be worried. Grizelda, I'm going right after, referring to the ER. Angie, just measure his thighs and take pictures. Check him in good lighting. Grizelda, yes, I will. Angie, keep me posted. Angelica's belief that Dominic's condition was due to an insect bite was based on Grizelda's statement that Dominic hasn't gotten any shots recently, and the unusual appearance of the wound and blood. She thought that being outdoors at the park increased the likelihood of an insect bite. Angie, later that day to Grizelda, how's Dominic? How did he pass the night? Grizelda, I see him the same. Foot still swollen, his thigh still swollen and hard. He didn't cry all night and slept, but I woke up to check on him and give him his meds at their times, and he took them. No fever or vomiting, and his abdomen is still soft. His foot is still cold and the other is hot. I'm taking him as soon as the doctor opens, then taking him to the LMC ER. Angie, keep me posted. Keep up with the med schedule. Grizelda, yes, I am. I have alarms when I need to give them to him. I'll message you when I'm at the doctor's. Angie replies, okay, show him our pics, and that we suspect it to be a brown recluse or a black widow. Grizelda, okay, I'll let you know what they tell me. The court also discussed text messages where Grizelda expressed her frustration at the hospital. Grizelda, stupid doctor didn't want to see Dominic until 2. I brought him to Vital Meg on McPherson. Over the next 15 days, Dominic's condition deteriorated, and he became unable to stand or walk, crawling instead. Grizelda to her group chat with Angie and her mom on the 31st of March. I really thought this Easter he would be running everywhere, and he won't be. I'm doing an Easter do-over when he's better. She added a picture of little Dominic. On April 9th, 2018, Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles, a supervisor border patrol agent with 9 years of experience, reported to the Laredo North Station for his shift from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. He arrived at the station driving a kilo unit with the number K66119, which is the term used for the green pickup trucks used by Border Patrol. After attending the morning meeting called muster, where assignments were handed out, Anthony was assigned to his kilo unit. His destination for the day was Father McNoby Park, located off Mines Road. This area fell under his supervision and covered a range from Father McNoby Park to World Trade Bridge. However, what appeared to be an ordinary day took a sinister turn. Anthony had arranged to meet Grizelda and Dominic at the park for a second and final time. Grizelda to Angie on April 8th, one day before the tragedy. Hey, I was also going to ask if I could borrow your car so I can take Dominic tomorrow with his dad. Couldn't ask on the phone because Jaden is right here. Let me know. It will be early, he said. Works at 11, I think. Grizelda borrowed her sister's Mercedes, picked up some breakfast at Chick-fil-A, and made a stop at her best friend's house the morning she made her way to Winfield Park with baby Dom. She arrived at the park at around 9:09 a.m. Video evidence captured her car entering the park. Anthony told her to park her car at the park and take a walk to a meeting spot in a dense, brushy area near the Rio Grande River. She loaded Dominic into the stroller, buckled him in, and began walking towards the park. At around 9:45 in the morning, Anthony set up an ambush at the end of the dirt trail where his kilo unit was parked. The evidence showed that the kilo unit served as a decoy. As Grizelda pushed the stroller along the path, Anthony, hidden in the brush, launched a violent attack. The details of the attack were horrifying. Grizelda fought back to protect her 18-month-old son, Dominic. During the struggle, she suffered 27 stab wounds, causing her extensive injuries and ultimately leading to her death. She was left unrecognizable. After killing Grizelda, Anthony turned his attention to baby Dominic. He unbuckled his buckle, which later was discovered had Grizelda's blood on it, and took him into the nearby grass and brush closer to the river. Anthony inflicted stab wounds to Dom's chest and throat, causing him to succumb to his injuries. Dominic was wearing a green Star Wars shirt with a picture of Baby Yoda and the words "Lucky I Am," became a victim of his own father's heinous acts. The evidence presented at the scene included the Kilo unit parked at the end of the trail, the blood-soaked clothing of both victims, and the brutal nature of the injuries inflicted upon them. With his background as a law enforcement officer, he knew exactly how to stage the scene to deceive investigators. First, he grabbed Dom's cell phone used for games, then he discarded the stroller in the brush, and one of Grizelda's shoes was thrown towards the river and landed in tall grass. Grizelda's phone, a crucial piece of evidence, was also taken by Anthony. Shortly after, the intense emotions of fear and panic and adrenaline started to take their toll, leading to crucial mistakes on his part. During the fight, a belt keeper of his was lost and was stained with the blood from the struggle. Anthony threw his belt keeper into the truck and it ended up under the front seat, later discovered by investigators. The trial later revealed that the injury on Dominic's leg is consistent with having been injected with a 14 to 18 gauge needle. The coroner's office couldn't identify the specific substance that may have been injected into baby Dom due to numerous variables of possible substances to test from. However, they did collect a sample and kept it in refrigerated storage to preserve it for any future developments. Syringes and needles were found in Anthony's personal truck, along with the phones that contained evidence of their communication, in addition to cell phone tower data. The GPS evidence became significant in establishing the timeline of events. The GPS in his Border Patrol truck recorded 2 instances when it turned off, indicating the possible time frame of the murder. The first shutdown occurred at 9:49 a.m. and the second at 10:10 a.m. This information, along with the camera footage from various locations along his path, would be presented as evidence. Due to the volume of bloodshed during the double murder, it was impossible for Anthony to completely control the evidence. Baby Dominic's blood marked the tailgate of the truck, leaving a clear trace of his killer. Additionally, a neighbor's camera captured Anthony getting off his truck shortly after the murders, and then he changed into shorts and tennis shoes. Unfortunately, the footage did not capture him in his full Border Patrol uniform. The gravity of the situation dawned upon Anthony as he realized he had to return to his assigned sector between Father McNoby Park and the World Trade Bridge. To address these new complications, he decided to turn around and drive back to the park, where the bodies had been for over an hour. Upon his return, he encountered 2 Border Patrol agents in their truck, who were parked near the soccer field. Anthony, with clenched hands on the steering wheel, asked about the nearby brushy area where he just murdered Grizelda and their son, and if there was an exit. One responded, mentioning an ATV trail. Subsequently, Anthony called for them on the radio upon arrival, summoning their presence. The call was to report a subject down, urgently requesting EMS and additional information. The Laredo police were tasked with unraveling the case. Sergeant Gilbert Benavides identified the vehicle registered to Angelica Hernandez. Police then located the address associated with the vehicle and spoke to Angelica. She informed Laredo police that her younger sister, Grizelda, and her nephew, Dominic, were supposed to meet with Dom's father at the park. Angelica told police the father's name was Anthony Burgos. Upon learning about this meeting with Anthony, the police broadcasted the information over the radios among Anthony's presence. Anthony overheard the broadcast and tried to swiftly make his way back to Grizelda's car. He was eventually apprehended by the police, disarmed, and placed in the police unit. He tried to say his name was Ronald, but then police asked him for his full name and put 2 and 2 together. In the back of the car, camera footage captures Anthony trying to clean himself off. He's licking his fingers and wiping off his arms and chest. On the trip to the station, Anthony can be seen ducking and hiding from passing cars. Investigators read Anthony his Miranda warning and proceeded to interrogate him for hours. Anthony presumed he was innocent. Footage of this interrogation was broadcasted at the trial, but it is really hard to understand what they are saying. The trial began on June 26, 2023, during which the jury had the opportunity to analyze and listen to more than 20 witnesses, including family members and friends of the victims, as well as the opinion of experts and the depositions of law enforcement agents who were present at the scene and his subsequent arrest. After 5 years of waiting, 7 years of trial, and roughly 4 hours of deliberation, Anthony Burgos was deemed guilty of murdering his ex-lover, Grizelda Hernandez, 27, and their son, Dominic Alexander, 1, that feels so weird to say, at Father McNoby Park, on April 9th, 2018. The sentence phase for the ex-Border Patrol agent is still going on at the time of filming this. The district attorney is currently advocating for the death penalty, while the defense is requesting life in prison. What are your thoughts and opinions on this case? I feel like it went in so many different directions. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Murder in My Bedroom. Today's sources are Law and Crime Trials on YouTube, LMT Online, and KNGS News. All sources linked below. Make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed this episode and follow Murder in My Bedroom on all social media. That concludes today's episode, and I'll see you guys next week. Special thanks to Festian Studios for the royalty-free soundtracks. You can listen to Murder in My Bedroom in the car, on the treadmill, or even in the shower. Be sure to check out Murder in My Bedroom on Spotify Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcast platforms you may listen on. Please subject all case requests to murderinmybedroompodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.